A-level physics. Yeah, it's got a reputation for being one of the toughest subjects out there, and you know what? That reputation isn't exactly wrong. But here's the thing, it is absolutely beatable. Success here isn't about being some kind of genius, it's all about having the right game plan. So let's break down that game plan.
So let's just tackle the elephant in the room, right? The question you're probably asking yourself if you're thinking about taking it on. Just how hard are we actually talking here? It's a fair question, and trust me, you're not the first person to ask it. And look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Here's what a student who's been in the trenches had to say. That jump from GCSE, it's huge. You're basically shifting from learning facts to learning a whole new way of thinking. It is a serious step up. But, and this is a really big but, that challenge is exactly what makes it so incredibly worthwhile. The difficulty is a feature, not a bug, because getting through it arms you with some seriously powerful skills. So why bother with the grind? Well, for starters, it's what's called a facilitating subject. That's basically university speak for a subject that they love to see because it prepares you for a ton of different degrees. It doesn't just open the door to science and engineering. That problem-solving skill you build is gold in fields like finance and computer science. And in a world that's desperate for STEM talent, a physics A-level makes you a pretty hot commodity.
And hey, if you want a cold, hard number, check this out. The Institute of Physics found that graduates with a physics degree earned, on average, about 30% more than the national average. Now that is a serious return on investment for all that hard work. Okay, so how do you do it? We've broken it down into a clear 5-step roadmap. We're going to start by conquering the maths. Then we'll talk about the mindset shift you need to make. After that, it's all about your revision strategy, mastering those crucial practical skills, and finally, pulling it all together.
Right, first up, conquering the maths. Let's be real, for most people, this is the single biggest hurdle in A-level physics. But if you can nail this, you are well on your way.
Just let this number sink in for a second. 40%. That's how many marks in your final exams come directly from your math skills. This isn't just a minor part of the course. It's the language the entire subject is written in. You simply cannot do well without it.
So what does that actually mean you need to do? Well, it means getting really good at these core skills. Your algebra has to be sharp for rearranging all those formulas. You'll be using logs and exponentials for things like radioactive decay. Trig and vectors are your bread and butter for anything involving forces. You've got to become a pro at analyzing graphs, finding gradients and the area underneath them. And maybe most importantly, precision is king. Using the correct SI units and the right number of significant figures can be the difference between getting the mark and losing it.
Okay, next up, let's talk about the second major shift, learning to think like a physicist. Because at this level, it's not really about what you know anymore, it's about how you use what you know.
This slide just sums it up perfectly. At GCSE, you could often get away with just memorizing a bunch of facts and formulas. A-level is a totally different ballgame. The exams are literally designed to throw you into situations you've never seen before to see if you can apply the concepts. You have to go from being a memory bank to being a problem solver.
Honestly, it all comes down to deep, genuine understanding. Rote learning just won't cut it. Think of it like this. Memorizing the formulas is just the tip of the iceberg. The exams are designed to see what's underneath. Do you actually get why the physics works the way it does?
Okay, so we've identified the big challenges. Now for the fun part, the solutions. Section 3 is all about your strategy for success. This is your toolkit for turning those challenges into high marks.
If you take only one thing away from this whole explainer, please let it be this. The single best, most effective thing you can do to revise for A-level physics is to practice past paper questions. Again and again and again. Nothing else prepares you better for the style of questions and the pressure of the exam.
So, what does that practice actually look like? Well, it's a cycle. First, you hammer the past papers to get a feel for the exam. Step 2, and this is a great tip, create a folder of failure. Every single question you get wrong, print it out, put it in there. That folder becomes your new best friend because it forces you to work on your weaknesses. Third, you need to practice your long-form explain questions. And finally, get ready for the synoptic questions, those big, tricky questions that pull in ideas from all over the two-year course.
The good news is you're not on your own. There are some amazing online resources out there. Physics and Maths Tutor is fantastic for its massive bank of questions broken down by topic. Isaac Physics is brilliant for pushing your problem-solving skills, especially if you're aiming for those top grades. And then you've got sites like Save My Exams and A-Level Physics Online for great notes, videos, and worked examples.
All right, on to our fourth section, Mastering Practical Skills. This is a mandatory part of the course, and believe me, it's about a lot more than just messing around in the lab.
So here's the deal. Over the 2 years, you have to complete at least 12 required practicals. It's called the Practical Endorsement, or CPAC, and it's a simple pass-fail that shows up on your certificate. It's not optional, you have to pass it.
But here's the bit that catches people out. Even though the practicals themselves are pass-fail, about 15% of the marks in your written exams are all about practical theory. They'll ask you about experimental design, uncertainty, data analysis, all that stuff. This is where really paying attention in your lab sessions pays off with actual marks. And that brings us to our final section, putting it all together. Let's take everything we've talked about and boil it down into a clear roadmap to that top grade.
So, here it is, your A-level physics checklist. First, you've got to build that rock-solid foundation in maths. Second, make that mental shift away from memorizing and towards deep understanding. Third, make past papers the absolute heart of your revision. Fourth, become an expert on the theory behind your practicals. And finally, use all those great online resources to patch up any holes in your knowledge. That's the formula.
Look, A-level physics is a challenge. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But it's a structured challenge, one with a clear set of rules for success. We've just given you the entire strategic toolkit. The path is laid out, the tools are right here. So the only real question left is, are you ready to get to work?